Hello, everybody. My honor and pleasure to present the next speaker, Trevor Hughes from International Association of Privacy Professionals and other bodies he is presiding over. As President and CEO of the IAPP, Trevor Hughes leads the world's largest association of privacy professionals in the world. Trevor is widely recognized as leading privacy expert in a number of areas, and he has contributed to media outlets such as New York Times, TechCrunch, and Wired, and has provided testimony on issues of privacy, data protection, surveillance, and privacy-sensitive technologies before the Congress, U.S. Federal Trade Commission, and British Parliament, and even more. Today, he'll present a terrific and thrilling topic of what's beyond 2020, what our predictions might be, or his predictions are for 2021. And a global review of the trends for the next years to come. I'm really thrilled to listen to that. And yeah, Trevor, hi.
Hello.
Hi, hello. And basically, I want to make one very simple introduction before letting you go further. We are making this shooting several hours in advance, so several hours before the conference. The conference in Lithuanian time zone will only start tomorrow morning, and here right now we are like 4:30 p.m. in the evening in Lithuania, and it will start, let's say, in more than 12 hours, which will be late night or early morning in US and Canada. So time is of essence. Still, time is of essence. Is the place and the physical location is not relevant anymore for online global events, but time is of essence. And that's why we need to take care of that. So thank you, Trevor, for participating, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It is a great pleasure to be with all of you today. Good morning. My name is Trevor Hughes, and I am the CEO of the IAPP, the International Association of Privacy Professionals, and we are the world's largest privacy organization. We have 68,000 members in 120 countries around the world, and we're very proud to have many members in Lithuania. So it is wonderful to be with all of you today. I thought what I would do for you today is just give you a very quick tour around the world. As a global organization, we have a perspective and understanding of many things that are happening in the field of data protection all around the world. And it turns out that there's quite a lot happening everywhere right now when it comes to data protection and privacy. So let's start our tour. First, I want to go to the United States. Now, in the United States, we are seeing significant privacy activity. I think we should start with a recognition that the United States is the only major economy in the world without a national privacy law. It is one of the outliers, if you will, in global privacy, in that there is no national comprehensive privacy law in the United States. However, things are changing in the US. Just last year, we saw the passage of the California Privacy Rights Act, which is the most restrictive privacy law in the history of the United States. And because of the size of California in the US economy, that law is going to have a major effect across the entire United States. Just about every organization in the United States is going to be paying attention to the California Privacy Rights Act, which just recently passed. We're also seeing activity at the state level in Texas, in Virginia, in Washington, in Illinois, in Louisiana, in Maine. Many states are introducing comprehensive privacy legislation. And the more that happens, the more likely it is that we will have a US national privacy law. So what I'm going to share with you is a prediction, and that is that this year we have a 1/3 chance for a national privacy law. Next year, 2022, we have an additional 1/3 chance for a national privacy law. In 2023, we have an additional 1/3 chance for a national privacy law in the United States, which is to say, within the next 3 years, I think there is a 100% chance that we see national privacy legislation in the United States. Make no mistake, as the major technology provider in the world, with Google, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and others based in the US, a major global economy, a major influencer in the world economy, the passage of national privacy legislation in the United States will be a very big thing for all organizations working in the information economy. And so we all need to be paying attention to it. So watch state activity in the United States, but also be aware that we may see national privacy legislation soon. We also need to pay attention to what's happening in Europe. Europe, through the GDPR, has been not a global leader, but the global leader in terms of data protection around the world. It is absolutely the case that just about everywhere in the world, the GDPR is used as the baseline framework for managing data protection. Most organizations today start with GDPR and build from there. And in that way, Europe has been massively influential in directing the path of data protection globally. I think that we are about to see something else happen in Europe, and that is, after 2.5 years of less activity as they built towards enforcement actions, data protection authorities in Europe are going to be bringing many enforcement actions in the coming years. And this year they will start. We saw a major enforcement action come out of the Camille earlier this year. We've seen major actions out of Norway and other jurisdictions. Watch the Irish Data Protection Commissioner's Office. There are major enforcement actions with regards to Facebook and Twitter in Ireland. I think that we will see lots of enforcement in 2021 coming out of many of the data protection authorities across all of Europe. So watch that. We also have to watch data transfers. Data transfers remain incredibly complicated and full of risk. Now, of course, the Schrems II decision occurred last year in 2020, and it invalidated the Privacy Shield agreement with the United States. It is now understood that the US Department of Commerce is negotiating with Brussels to create a replacement agreement for the Privacy Shield agreement. I think that that too will be challenged, but at least we may have a data transfer mechanism put in place sometime soon. So watch for agreements between Brussels and Washington, DC, but also watch for things like Brexit. Now, by the time you listen to this, we may have formal indication that the United Kingdom has been found to be adequate post-Brexit. Brussels has been looking at that. There is a 6-month grace period that the United Kingdom is currently in, and an adequacy determination is reportedly coming out this week. That's going to be a major development, I think. But when it comes to global data transfers, watch the complexity and risk of those issues. They absolutely are going to be a challenge. Let's take a step back and look at the globe. We've looked at the US and Europe, but let's look at the globe. It is absolutely a fact that privacy and data protection are not just growing, they are exploding all around the world. Singapore is revising their law. Australia is revising their law. Brazil, in August of last year, introduced their first national comprehensive privacy legislation, the LGPD. Canada, my home country, is revising their law. New Zealand is just going through the final process of the revisions to their law. We are seeing new privacy laws emerge all around the world. In fact, India, one of the most populous nations on earth, one of the top 10 GDP nations on earth, it is introducing their first national privacy law, as well as China. China, the most populous nation, second largest economy, second largest technology provider in the world, they have introduced and will likely pass in March of this year at the People's Congress in Beijing, their first national privacy law. Now, with India and China passing national privacy law, that would mean that in 2021, we might see 50% of the world's population covered by their first national privacy law. Let me say that again because it's so big and it's so important. In 2021, half of the world might come under their first national privacy law. Now, if we look at those laws around the world, one of the things that we see clearly under GDPR, there's a mandatory data protection officer requirement. Under the LGPD in Brazil, there's a mandatory data protection officer requirement. In the bills that were introduced in Washington, D.C. last year, there was a mandatory privacy professional requirement. India requires data protection professionals. The world has begun to understand that you can't just introduce a law, you also have to have smart people in the right places making good decisions about data. And that means you. That means data protection professionals all around the world. You are the guardians of trust of the global information economy. That's an incredibly big job, and we at the IAPP are here as a not-for-profit organization with no advocacy agenda. We are not a policy organization. Our mission is to define, promote, and improve the profession of privacy and data protection globally. That means we're here to support you as professionals, and we're very proud of that work. And we are very proud of the work that you do every day to make the information economy safer, more trustworthy, and a place that serves all of humanity. And for that, I thank you, and I thank you for your time today.
Thanks, Trevor. Really, thanks for your tour around the world, around the privacy world, around the global data world, which becomes even more global during these turbulent times. And in that respect, I have one question related to, pandemic management. And privacy is always one of the key aspects to consider here. And most of the governments, they do have this on the agenda as well. What are your predictions for the year 2021? Would governments would they pass the laws providing certain exceptions for the privacy in terms of mandatory testing or in terms of mandatory exchange of health-related information? Would you think that there will be some legislation efforts in that respect?
I haven't seen any legislative efforts, but certainly we have seen data being shared with pharmaceutical companies. The Israeli government reportedly shared aggregate non-personal data regarding the pandemic with Pfizer, with pharmaceutical companies. We may see more of that. We will see privacy and data protection issues continue with regards to contact tracing. We are about to see immunity passports, this idea of once you are vaccinated, you have an identification that allows you to get on planes, to travel, to go to work, to do other things. We will see those issues. I guess the prediction that I have is that it doesn't matter what the societal issue is, we will see data protection and privacy issues emerge at the same time. And whether or not we have legislation to help guide our behavior in those practices, it is the job of data protection professionals to ensure that we can succeed as a society. We can be healthy, we can be successful financially and economically. We can educate our citizens and our children. We can do the things that society needs to do while protecting our data, while maintaining trust in the economy. And the pandemic has not changed that.
Yeah, I agree. And then one of the provoking questions, if I may, do you think that technology is changing the way we perceive the privacy in a way that, of course, we understand that we lose our privacy with new technology development, and we use more and more of our data, and we share more and more of the data with the help of technology? Or is it vice versa, that privacy affects the way technology evolves? Or is it both?
It's both. It's both, and it's a fantastic question. So one of the things that I personally am very fascinated about, and I study quite a bit, is how technology historically affects our thinking about privacy. And it turns out that technology constantly disrupts our understanding of privacy. But the one thing that doesn't change is that our desire for privacy comes back and reestablishes itself. So let me give you an example. In the late 1800s, photography emerged. And one of the things that happened was that flexible film was developed. And all of a sudden, you could walk around with a small box and take pictures. And you could take pictures without other people knowing. And that was a privacy violation at the time. It almost seems silly today, but it was a privacy violation at the time. This new technology changed the way that we understood or thought about privacy. As a result, we saw some laws emerge. We saw social norms, expectations of privacy with regards to photography emerge, and society adapted to this new technology, but it didn't give up privacy. Privacy didn't die. What happened was the technology changed the negotiation, and as a result, society had to adapt and then reestablish privacy within the environment created by that new technology. It is exactly the same today. The thing that is different is that the technological innovation happens so quickly now that it becomes difficult for us to adapt as societies around the world to respond to these new changes. So I like to say that privacy is an eternal negotiation. It is a constant negotiation with technology, with society, so that we can protect privacy, which is a truth. It's a fundamental human truth, so that we can protect privacy while still enjoying these new technologies.
Thank you, Trevor. That was Trevor Hughes from IAPP. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you.